pray that this video is received by everyone who needs it, and that it helps them in some way. Greetings, dear soul. It is I, Crispin. And today we're talking about another hot button topic, addictions. Addictions are the realm of the shadow ego. And in fact, my previous video about the spiritual ego and spiritual bypassing could be said to be addiction-based. All the activities of the spiritual ego and, in fact, spiritual bypassing itself is an addiction. And all addictions, when we take a step back and look, are simply avoidance of one's inner pain or memories or trauma, whatever, unhealed trauma, and the craving of something external. So just like spiritual bypassing, all addictions represent craving for something external that will make the self feel better and avoidance of those painful memories. So, in our culture, in our current culture, 2025, we have all of these new addictions based on technology that didn't exist even 20 years ago. Of course, I'm talking about smartphones and everything connected to the internet. So, scrolling, of course, but also the groups and getting likes, for example, is a whole new thing that even children are growing up with these days. As you may know, I live in Japan, and when I'm out doing my groceries, just a few minutes ago, I see mothers pushing carts and children, maybe 3, 4, 5 years old, just holding some phone and doing stuff, and oh boy, that might be the most serious childhood addiction right now. Recently, in the past, it was sugar, I believe, in the past 50 years. I believe that food addiction and obesity are a direct result of the childhood ingestion of sugar, and you get that crash, which then the body craves fatty foods. So that's a very difficult cycle to break. And then tobacco, alcohol, of course, and drugs, drug addiction, the deepest, darkest realm of the shadow ego. Also here we have some new drugs that did not even exist until recently. The whole opioid epidemic in America primarily is a staggering example of this. And it's hyperactive little brother, fentanyl. All of the addictions, however, no matter what activity or substance, is all based on the same thing. Craving some external thing to avoid the uncomfortable, unhealed emotions and or memories. So what do we do about it? The first step is developing awareness, once again. So being able to observe one's actions. Secondarily, perhaps, is part and parcel with developing this observer perspective is non-judgmental thinking. Just be aware of your addictions. Again, do not judge anyone else for theirs. If you can, help them. If not, don't even try. We all have to handle our own addictions ourselves. There are, of course, a fantastic number of groups: Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, groups for sex addicts, everything. So if you feel drawn to help someone, make sure you're not following your own addictive pattern based on helping or being a savior, or even just codependency, another huge addiction. So part of this developing awareness for me, and what I do teach through Mayan embodiment, is the use of the chakras. Chakras in basic form are energy processing centers. That's all. And it could be said that the realm of the shadow ego is the lower 3 chakras. The primary chakra dealing with all addictions is the solar plexus chakra, the inner sun, the yellow one that the Japanese call the hara. This chakra is called the manipura. Now, let's look at that word, manipura. Manipulate. Oh, interesting. So the solar plexus, manipura chakra, is in charge of willpower and self-esteem and ambition and confidence and discipline. Discipline, of course, derives from the word disciple. So to follow rules strictly is to be disciplined. Now, when things run afoul, the sunny yellow color of the solar plexus chakra turns into a dark, bitter green, like bile color, I feel. And the inner fire can just go out from a person who feels manipulated and someone who feels under control by others that they wish they were not. And again, you have the situation that a person is in, could be their boss, could be their spouse, their children, whatever. And they feel manipulated, and they're trying to escape that situation. That's a solar plexus reaction. Another common area for the solar plexus activity is passive aggression and all those microaggressions that we're quite familiar with, and then just plain old aggressive aggression. These can all be addictions as well. People who are scrolling are often looking for something to feel angry about, that fire, and they retweet and etc., 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 just increasing that fire and their own suffering if they would but take a close look. So let's go down in order, shall we? The sacral chakra, the Svatisthana, is a beautiful, bright, navel orange color when functioning well. And it deals primarily with intimacy and pleasure, which is sensuality and sexuality, of course, and therefore creativity. All of these are the realm of the second chakra, the sacral chakra, Svatisthana. Now, when things get into trouble here, we've got emotional neglect, either feeling it or neglecting others. And here you can see right away there's a connection between the second and the third. If you choose to neglect other people emotionally, and if you are triggered by being neglected by others emotionally, that's both your second and third chakras. These patterns, like all trauma, start in childhood, and there's a whole category of children who are called anxious avoidant, and this is anchored in trauma through the sacral chakra. And again, it's all about other people. So there's the third, Manipura and Svatisthana. The lower three all are very closely intertwined, and most people live most of their lives in the lower three, and not on the bright, happy colored ones either. The root chakra, Muladhara. This is where our feelings of being grounded, of course, and being safe and secure. There's also, again, family and tribal bonding, which also includes intimacy, and then lots of other people. So as you can see, the lower three chakras really function very closely. And it's all of the traumas that can anchor in here that end up being addictions. Let's take a very common and very painful one. Anything to do with sexual abuse. Here we see, okay, sex. So that's the second chakra, right? Well, someone who's being raped is also being terrorized, and they're feeling this complete attack on their safety. So that's the root. Of course, the intimacy of the sacral chakra is being damaged. And then it's about another person always being in control. So sexual abuse and rape is quite possibly equally all three of the lower chakras. If we just look at something like money, you'll look around. If you study chakras and what people say, money, oh, well, money is a third chakra issue. If someone is completely poverty-stricken, that's root chakra. Absolutely. If someone uses their, let's say, sexuality and sensuality to get money, there's the sacral chakra. And then there's all the manipulation and aggression, passive aggression and control. So money, again, all three lower chakras. Now, the only healing for all trauma, and therefore all addictions, is to activate the heart chakra. This is where love lives. And the only way to really heal all of this is unconditional love, which I teach is unconditional forgiveness and unconditional trust. The three of those are the divinity trinity of all healing. Now, to do successful shadow ego work, I do believe that we have to shine a light on our shadow ego, and that means our addictions. And we need to shine the light on the root cause of all these addictions, and heal that root cause to the best of our ability. And the number one tool of healing, as taught by countless wise people, is unconditional forgiveness. Just like love, there's no such thing as partial forgiveness. It's not forgiveness if it's partial. There's no such thing as love if it has conditions. That's control, which could be said to be a Manipura, solar plexus chakra issue, by the way. But it's probably related to the lower two as well. So I'm going to leave here for you to screenshot, download, and print what I was given through a very intense experience of my own. Unconditional forgiveness. and the steps to achieving it. By the way, you cannot do this until you are fully ready, which is why I believe in the necessity of shadow ego work, as I call it. You can't just go in and say, I forgive everyone of everything. Maybe you can, but I don't think it would be very effective. If you want to try, please, absolutely, go ahead. But if you want to work with me, I do have a wonderful workbook that is part of our contract, and we will have up to 4 90-minute face-to-face Zoom meetings where we will talk about the contents of the book. Why 4? Because, dear soul, I cannot let anyone become addicted to their relationship with me. We can have a relationship afterwards until the day we die, and even after. But I won't be your healer for more than 4 sessions, face to face. That's the way it is meant to be for me and you, being a reflection of me. For in the highest truth, we are one. One holy hologram, one divine spark, one sacred fractal of God-sciousness. In Lak'esh Alakim, Namaste.